Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Skylar, and we would like to introduce you to our dog Chase.
We hadn't had a dog, and Skylar, for about 2 years, was really begging, asking for a dog for a long time. So we kept taking her to the Northeast Animal Shelter, and hoping that maybe just taking her there was going to be good enough. But she persisted, so we went there, and they have a little yard where you can bring the dogs out into, and we had taken out 3 different dogs, and Chase was, my wife actually spotted him in the cage, and something about him she really liked. But when we brought him out into the little yard with a tennis ball, and either one of us called his name and said, Chase, like, Chase, come. He came to us and sat. All the other dogs were just running around, and Chase was just, there was something about him that he came, sat down, he really liked Skylar. He just seemed kind of half-trained, which to us was a great, that was a bonus to him. Besides the fact that we liked the way he looked and his, the breed of, they had told us that he was half Airedale, half, they weren't sure if it was Beagle or Hound, and come to find out, we think it's Schnauzer. They used him to corral the dogs when they were all out.
Well, when we first brought Chase home, he was very quiet. He didn't really do much, very reserved. So we were like, oh, I guess that's good. And then, the next couple of weeks, that changed a lot. The mailman would come and he would bark his brains out. So that took a drastic turn.
When we first got Chase, I took him to work with me because Skylar was little in school, my wife was working. So I was coming back from work, and he was in the back of my Explorer with the windows down, and it was a day like today. And he was very, excited, and I saw out of the corner of my eye that he was a little bit too far out of the car, and I was slowing down. Luckily enough, I had slowed down enough, because as I slowed down, he jumped right out the window. And I was doing about, I don't know, maybe 15 miles an hour. It's hard to tell if it was 15 or 20, but he tumbled right down and popped up. I pulled over, another guy pulled over, and then another person pulled over. I don't know if he saw something. So to make a long story short, he came back to me, and he kind of looked at me like, why did you just throw me out of the car window? And I was like, I didn't do it, Chase, but he just gave me this look like I had done something terrible to him,
I do remember one time when I was at my neighbor's, and we were all having a good time in their backyard, and Chase always likes to know where I am and doesn't like to be separated from me, my mom, or my dad. So my mom didn't really know where I was, so she assumed I was in the neighborhood, but she wrote a note and attached it to Chase's collar, and Chase knew where I was, so my mom let him out of the door. He bolted over to my neighbor's house, and I noticed him, and I was like, oh, Chase, what are you doing here? And I looked at his collar, and there was a note attached to it. So I read it, and it was like, Skylar, you need to come home. We got to go to hockey. Make sure you tell Emily, because she was also my neighbor, and we both had to go. And it worked, so I went home.
Okay, well, Chase doesn't really go in the water. He doesn't really like water in general, but he went in the water this time for some weird reason. I don't know, maybe because my dad was in it, but he went in pretty deep, and it was fun. We had a great day. I had school the next day, so I came home from school. I noticed that he had a really hard time trying to sit. I noticed that his tail kind of was just lifeless.
We went online, and because I was trying to figure out what would all of a sudden make his tail stop, literally just still. Oh, if you've taken your dog to water that's extremely cold, like the beach or the ocean, they call it some kind of frozen tail, and it can, the cold water, because it's so cold, it said it should wear off in about a day. and a half or so. It does something to their tail, the cold, freezing water, just because they haven't been in it for a long time. And they said it will whatever the muscle is in the tail just doesn't work for it, and it's sore. It gets like a sore, and then literally like a day later he was fine. When I got married and had Skylar, I said, I'm never having an animal again. And Skylar, changed that when we got Chase, and I knew that if I got a dog or a cat or whatever it was, that I would, that we would love it, and he'd be a huge part of the family.
I absolutely love Chase. He is like my four-legged brother because I am an only child. I don't really have any siblings, so he's always great to have around, and I love him for that.